The hotel has 24 rooms, but for 73 years, your instructions have been to rent only 23 of them. Room 17 is always made, always heated, and always empty. Tonight at 11:47, a letter arrives asking you to prepare it for its guest. You are standing behind the polished walnut desk when the envelope slides through the brass mail slot beside the front doors. It lands quietly on the patterned tile, hardly louder than the ticking of the clock above the fireplace. Outside, snow has begun to cover the mountain road, not heavily, not yet. Large flakes drift through the yellow light above the entrance and settle along the porch railing, softening the edges of the world beyond the glass. You leave the desk and cross the lobby. The hotel is nearly silent at this hour. A low fire glows beneath the stone mantel. Somewhere upstairs, a floorboard gives a small wooden creak as the building settles into the cold. The grandfather clock near the staircase has just begun its slow approach toward midnight. You pick up the envelope. There is no stamp, no return address. Only 6 carefully written words. For the keeper of room 17, you turn it over once. The paper is thick and cream-colored, slightly rough beneath your thumb. Someone must have pushed it through the slot by hand. You glance through the front windows, but the porch is empty. Beyond it, the road curves between dark pines and disappears into falling snow. For a moment, you simply stand there, holding the letter. Room 17 has always been one of the hotel's quieter mysteries. When you first took the night position last autumn, the manager, Mr. Alden, explained nearly everything in a single walk through the building. The coal is kept beneath the kitchen stairs. The boiler pressure should remain between the 2 pencil marks on the gauge. Guests who ask for hot water after 11 are to be given the blue pitchers because the white ones crack when filled directly from the kettle. The east chimney sometimes whistles in a north wind, and room 17 is never to be rented. When you asked why, Mr. Alden had shrugged as if you were asking why the stairs went upward. It is reserved. For whom? I don't know. When are they coming? I don't know that either. Then he had handed you a brass key stamped with the number 17. But every Thursday the linens are changed. If the temperature falls below freezing, light the grate, keep the water pitcher filled, and never remove the room from the ledger. That was all. At first you assumed there must be some ordinary explanation. Perhaps the room belonged to the hotel's owner. Perhaps an elderly guest paid to keep it available during occasional journeys through the mountains. Perhaps there was some legal agreement nobody bothered explaining to the night staff. But over the months, the details had grown stranger. There is no current name beside room 17 in the ledger. Instead, on the first page of every new volume, the manager copies the same words from the book before it. Room 17, retained by standing arrangement, payment received. The oldest ledger still kept behind the desk begins in 1863, and the same note appears there too. 73 years. 73 years of clean sheets, 73 years of warmed winters, 73 years of an empty room waiting for someone who never comes. You carry the envelope back to the desk. The small brass lamp casts a circle of light across the register. For several seconds you hesitate. Then you slide one finger beneath the flap. Inside is a card and a small object wrapped in tissue paper. You unfold the paper first. A brass luggage tag rests in your palm. It is worn nearly smooth around the edges. Stamped across its face are the words, Morrow Hotel Room 17. You look toward the staircase. The hotel's name is no longer Morrow Hotel. It hasn't been for decades. The brass letters above the front entrance now read Alden House. You turn the tag over. On the reverse is a name, E. Vale. The card contains only 2 sentences. Please prepare the room tonight. The reservation will finally be used. You read it twice. The grandfather clock ticks behind you. 11:52. Mr. Alden retired upstairs more than an hour ago. Normally, you would wake him. A guest arriving unexpectedly at midnight during snowfall would be reason enough. A guest claiming a reservation older than anyone living in the hotel seems reason for considerably more. But you find yourself looking again at the letter. Please prepare the room tonight. Not please find the manager. Not please confirm the reservation. Prepare the room. It is, strangely enough, exactly what you have been instructed to do. You place the luggage tag beside the lamp. Then you reach beneath the desk and remove the key to room 17. The old brass key is longer than the others. Its wooden fob is dark with age, the number nearly worn away from years of being handled despite rarely being used. You take a fresh blue water pitcher from the cupboard. Then you cross the lobby and begin climbing the stairs. The hotel feels different when nearly everyone is asleep. During the day, Alden House is full of movement, boots drying beside the entrance, trunks crossing the lobby, coffee cups returning to the kitchen, travelers comparing road conditions, children leaning over the upstairs railings, someone always asking when breakfast begins or whether the Western Pass is open. But after 11, the building seems to remember that it is older than all of its guests. The noises become smaller, the tick of cooling pipes, the soft rush of the chimney, the muted murmur of wind along the eaves. You reach the 2nd floor. A long carpeted corridor stretches ahead, lit by shaded wall lamps, spaced between dark wooden doors. Room 17 is at the far end. You pass 14, 15, 16, then stop. The door looks exactly like the others. That may be the strangest thing about it. You sometimes think a room with such an unusual history ought to announce itself somehow. A strange carving, a different lock, perhaps some visible mark left by the decades. But the door is ordinary dark oak. A small oval plaque reads 17. You insert the key. The lock turns smoothly. Mr. Alden oils it every spring. Inside, the room is cold but not unpleasant. Moon-colored snow light filters through the curtains. You strike a match and light the bedside lamp. Warm amber spreads across the room. A narrow bed stands beneath a quilt of deep green and cream. There is a writing desk beneath the window, a washstand, a wooden wardrobe, one upholstered chair angled toward a small iron grate. Everything is ready. Of course it is. Mrs. Bell changed the linens this morning. You watched her carry the folded sheets upstairs shortly after breakfast. At the time, it had seemed like the most unnecessary chore in the hotel. Now it feels almost prophetic. You set the water pitcher on the washstand, then kneel beside the grate. A stack of kindling waits in the basket. 2 split logs lie beside it. You arrange the wood, tuck a twist of paper underneath, and strike another match. The flame moves slowly at first, then the kindling catches. Small orange light begins to flicker across the iron. You stay there until the first log begins to burn steadily. When you stand, your eyes move around the room again. If someone truly is coming, perhaps the usual preparation isn't enough. You check the blankets, clean. You open the wardrobe, empty except for 2 wooden hangers. You test the window latch, secure, the pitcher is full, the basin is clean. On the writing desk sits a small hotel stationery set, replaced every few months, although nobody uses it. You straighten the paper. Then you notice something beneath the blotter. Only the corner is visible, a yellowed piece of card. You hesitate before lifting the blotter. A photograph lies underneath. You have never seen it before. The image is faded, almost brown. It shows the hotel many years ago. The building is recognizable, although the porch is narrower and there is no eastern wing. 4 people stand in the snow before the entrance. One is a woman wearing a long dark dress and heavy coat. Beside her stands a young boy. On the other side is a bearded man you assume must be Mr. Morrow, the hotel's original owner. The 4th figure is difficult to make out. A traveler, perhaps, wrapped in a thick coat. One hand rests on a large leather trunk. You turn the photograph over. The handwriting is faint. January 1863. Elias came through safely. Room kept as promised. You read the line once more. Elias E. Vale. A knock sounds somewhere far down the corridor. You straighten quickly. For half a second, you think someone has arrived at room 17. Then you hear a guest's sleepy voice from room 12. "Hello?" You step into the corridor. A man in a dressing gown is peering from his doorway. "Sorry to trouble you," he whispers. "Could we have another blanket?" "Of course." His request is so ordinary that you nearly smile. You close room 17 and collect a folded wool blanket from the linen cupboard. The man thanks you. "My wife insists the window is leaking cold air." "Is it?" "No," he says. "But I've learned that this does not matter." You suppress a laugh. "Good night. Good night." He closes the door. You continue downstairs. The lobby clock shows 12 minutes past midnight. The letter remains beneath the lamp. So does the luggage tag. You pick up the tag again and compare the name with the photograph in your mind. Elias. Perhaps E. Vale was Elias Vale. Perhaps he was the traveler in the photograph. You kneel and unlock the cabinet beneath the register desk. The oldest hotel records are kept there in 4 thick volumes. Mr. Alden rarely allows anyone to touch them, but he also rarely receives letters about 73-year-old reservations. You remove the 1863 ledger. Its leather binding is cracked. The pages smell faintly of dust and old paper. You carry it to the desk and begin turning carefully. January. Most entries are brief. 2 rooms occupied, 4 rooms occupied, stage delayed, road clear, heavy snowfall. You reach January 19th. The page contains an unusually long note. You lean closer to the lamp, snow continuing. Pass closed for 3rd day. 6 travelers remain in house. At approximately 9 in evening, E. Vale arrived on foot from Eastern Road, having left disabled coach 4 miles below Ridge. Nearly overcome with cold, room 17 given. Fire maintained through night. You read on, January 20th. Vale improved. Roads remain closed. Mrs. Vale and child found at Miller Farm below Ridge, both well. Horse team sent at noon. Family reunited here before supper, January 21st. Vale family departed south, following plow team. Refused payment, accepted by Morrow. Mr. Vale insisted instead upon leaving deposit for room 17, saying that a lit room should always remain for the traveler who still has road left to walk. The next line is written in darker ink, arrangement to be honored. You sit back, the fire in the lobby gives a quiet pop. So, That is how it began. Not a ghost, not a secret owner, not a forgotten legal dispute. A man once arrived nearly frozen after walking 4 miles through winter darkness. The hotel gave him room 17, and afterward, he paid to keep the room waiting. You turn the page. There are small notes every few years. 1870, payment received from E. Vale. 1871, payment received from Vale and Son. 1872, standing arrangement renewed by Margaret Vale. 1873, payment received. 1874, arrangement reaffirmed. 1875, payment received by post. Then, at the beginning of the current ledger, room 17, retained by standing arrangement, payment received. You close the book gently. The story should make the strange reservation feel less mysterious. Instead, another question replaces it. Why now? Why, after 73 years, is someone finally coming? The answer may simply walk through the front door if you wait long enough. There are duties to attend to meanwhile. You check the boiler. The pressure sits precisely between the pencil marks. You add 2 shovelfuls of coal. In the kitchen, you place a kettle on the back of the stove. If a guest is traveling through the snow, they may want tea. Mrs. Bell has left half a loaf of bread beneath a cloth, along with a wedge of cheese and yesterday's apple cake. You arrange a small plate, nothing elaborate, just enough for someone arriving late. The storm slowly thickens beyond the kitchen window. Snow brushes the glass in soft diagonal lines. The road may become difficult before morning. You return to the lobby. 12:40. No one. You sit behind the desk and open the night's account book. There are columns to total, meals, laundry, stable fees, telegrams. The familiar work is calming. You sharpen the pencil, add 6 numbers, carry the total, check it again. The hotel seems content to wait with you. At 1 o'clock, the clock strikes once. The sound travels through the lobby and disappears upstairs. At 1:15, you hear wheels. You rise immediately. The noise is distant, a slow wooden rumble beneath the wind. You step onto the porch. Cold air meets your face. Snow has covered the steps in a clean white layer. Far down the road, a light moves between the trees. Not a motor car, too slow, a wagon. You stand under the porch roof as it approaches. The horse's breath rises in pale clouds. The driver wears a heavy scarf wrapped around his face. Beside him sits a single passenger beneath a dark traveling cloak. The wagon stops before the hotel. You descend the steps. The passenger climbs down carefully. A woman, perhaps 60, perhaps older. Snow has gathered along the shoulders of her coat. The driver lowers one leather case from the back. The woman reaches into her pocket and pays him. Then she looks at the hotel, not with the uncertainty of someone arriving somewhere new, with recognition. You step forward. Good evening. Good morning, I suppose, she says. Her voice is tired but warm. Are you expecting a guest? You think of the letter. I believe so. She looks at you carefully. Room 17. You nod. For a moment, neither of you says anything. Then her shoulders relax. Good. I was worried the arrangement might have finally been forgotten. You pick up the leather case. It is not heavy. As you turn toward the porch, your eye catches the luggage tag attached to the handle. Old brass, Morrow Hotel, room 17, exactly like the one on the desk. You carry the case inside. The woman removes her gloves beside the fire. She looks around the lobby with quiet interest. The desk moved. You glance at it. You've been here before? No, she smiles. But I've seen photographs. You bring her the guest register. May I have your name? She takes the pen. Her handwriting is slow and careful. Clara Vale. The surname settles the question before you can ask it. She notices your expression. I imagine you found something in the records. A little. My family has been paying for that room for quite a long time. 73 years. 73 winters, she corrects gently. The winters are the important part. You glance toward the stairs. Would you like tea before I show you up? I would like nothing more. You bring the tray from the kitchen. Clara sits near the lobby fire while you pour. She wraps both hands around the cup. For several minutes she says nothing. There is no hurry. A guest who has waited 73 years for a reservation can probably be allowed a few minutes beside the fire. Eventually she looks toward you. Did you find the entry about Elias? Your grandfather, great-grandfather. You nod. He walked here from a broken coach. 4 miles in snow. And the hotel owner gave him room 17. Thomas Morrow. She takes another sip. My family tells the story every Christmas. You sit in the chair opposite her. Clara looks into the fire. Elias was traveling with his wife and their young son. Their coach broke an axle on the ridge. There were farms in the valley, but they couldn't see them through the snow. Elias left the coach to find help. She pauses. He nearly walked past this place. How? The lamps had been extinguished to save oil. Business was poor that winter. Thomas Morrow was considering closing the hotel until spring. You look around the lobby. It is difficult to imagine the building dark. Clara continues. His wife, Anne, saw the storm worsening and told him to relight the porch lamp. Why? She said someone might still be on the road. The words are simple. You feel them settle into the room. Someone might still be on the road. Clara smiles faintly. Less than an hour later, Elias saw that lamp. You understand now. Not only the room, the light, the fire, the promise. What happened to the rest of his family? Thomas sent men out at first light. They found the coach empty. A farmer had already taken them in. And Elias kept paying for the room. He tried to pay Thomas for saving him. Thomas refused. Elias was stubborn, apparently, so they made a compromise. She gestures toward the stairs. Elias would pay for room 17 every winter. Thomas would keep it available for any traveler who arrived in genuine need and couldn't pay. You look toward the old ledger. I didn't see that part. Because it wasn't meant to become charity recorded beside names. The guest was simply told the room had already been paid for. You think about 73 years. Was it used? Many times. That surprises you. But Mr. Alden told me nobody had stayed there. Nobody under the Vale reservation. Clara's smile grows. The room has had hundreds of guests. You look upstairs again. Suddenly the room feels entirely different. Not empty, waiting, she explains. Travelers stranded by weather, families delayed between towns, a railway worker injured far from home, a school teacher whose purse was stolen, a young couple whose motor car failed during a winter crossing. Whenever someone needed shelter and lacked the means to pay, room 17 was quietly theirs. No debt, no public charity, no questions, just a key. You think back over the months since you began working here. Why hasn't anyone used it recently? Roads improved, cars improved, people stopped traveling by coach, and your Mr. Alden became very protective of the arrangement. My father told him to keep the room prepared whether it was used or not. Clara looks at the snow beyond the windows. I suppose some promises become rituals when the world no longer needs them in the same way. Then why are you here? Her expression changes, not sad exactly, gentler. My father died in spring. You lower your eyes. I'm sorry. Thank you. She turns the cup slowly in her hands. He maintained the reservation for 41 years. Every January he mailed the payment himself. This year it became my responsibility. And you're ending it? No. She says the word immediately, then smiles. Quite the opposite. She reaches into her coat and removes a folded envelope. My family has decided to place enough money in trust to keep room 17 available permanently. You look at her. Permanently. As permanently as anything can be. She sets the envelope on the small table. There is only one change. You wait. I want someone from the family to sleep there once. For the first time tonight you laugh softly. After 73 years. After 73 years. She glances toward the staircase. My grandfather used to say that if a room is kept for everyone, eventually someone responsible for keeping it should remember what it feels like to be welcomed into it. You stand. Then I suppose your room is ready. Clara finishes her tea. You carry her case upstairs. At the end of the corridor, you stop before 17. You hand her the key. She doesn't take it immediately. Instead, she looks at the worn wooden fob in your palm. Is that the original? I don't know. It might be. Finally, she closes her fingers around it. The lock turns. Warm air meets you when the door opens. The fire you started earlier has filled the room with a quiet heat. The green and cream quilt rests smoothly across the bed. The water pitcher waits on the stand. The small lamp glows beside the pillow. Clara steps inside. For several seconds she does not speak. Then she walks to the writing desk. You remember the photograph beneath the blotter. I found something there. She lifts the blotter. The old photograph appears. Clara sits. Her fingertips hover over the image before touching it. I've never seen this one. You can take it. She shakes her head. No. She looks around the room. It belongs here. She studies the four figures. Then she points to the young boy. That's Samuel, my grandfather. You move closer. The boy in the photograph cannot be older than 7. He remembered this place all his life. Her voice has become very quiet. He remembered waking after the storm and seeing his father asleep in the chair beside the fire. He remembered hot bread. He remembered Anne Morrow giving him wool socks because his were soaked. Clara smiles. Mostly he remembered being warm. She returns the photograph beneath the blotter. You move toward the door. Is there anything else you need? She looks at the fire. No. Then she turns toward you. Actually, there is. Of course. Keep the porch lamp lit tonight. You nod. I will. You close the door softly behind you. The corridor feels warmer on the walk back. Downstairs, you return the old ledger to the cabinet. The luggage tag from the envelope still rests beside the lamp. You pick it up. When Clara arrived, you noticed its twin on her case. Now you understand. Perhaps the first tag belonged to Elias. Perhaps someone kept it all these years. You place it carefully inside the drawer with the key slips. Not hidden, just safe. Then you go outside. Snow has thickened across the porch. You brush a layer from the lamp glass. The flame inside wavers, then steadies. Beyond the porch, the road is almost completely white. There may be no other traveler tonight. Probably there won't be. Still, you turn the lamp wick slightly higher. A warm oval of light reaches farther into the snow. Someone might still be on the road. Back inside, the hotel settles around you. 1:35. There are still several hours before morning. You complete the account book. You check the front lock. You carry the tea tray to the kitchen. You rinse the cup Clara used and set it upside down beside the sink. Everything returns to routine. But the routine feels changed. For months you have thought of yourself as someone temporarily occupying the night desk. You check people in, you answer bells, you tend the boiler, you make sure the doors remain locked. Useful work, necessary work, but work that belongs to the hotel rather than to you. Tonight, for the first time, you understand that some of the most important things here are not written in the job instructions. A light kept burning, a room kept ready, a promise handed from one person to another until nobody remembers exactly who first carried it. You walk the ground floor slowly, dining room quiet, kitchen, stove low, side entrance locked, parlor, fire nearly down. You add one small log, not because anyone asked, because the room will be warm if someone wakes early. At 4:30, you write a note for Mr. Alden. Miss Clara Vale arrived at 1:20 a.m. and is occupying room 17. Letter regarding standing arrangement is beneath register. Then you reconsider the wording. Occupying sounds too ordinary. You cross it out. Miss Clara Vale arrived at 1:20 a.m. Room 17 has received its guest. You leave the note beside the account book. A thin line of pale morning begins to appear behind the eastern windows. You turn off one lobby lamp, then another. The fire is low now. The building no longer seems asleep so much as resting between night and morning. Eventually, Clara goes inside. You remain on the porch another minute. The cold no longer feels sharp. You breathe in the clean morning air. Far down the slope, a dark shape moves along the road. A snowplow, the first vehicle of the day. No stranded traveler, no desperate knock. No one needing room 17, that is fine. A promise does not become meaningless merely because it isn't needed tonight. Perhaps the opposite, perhaps the keeping is the important part. You brush the remaining snow from the steps. One step, then another, then another. The repetitive movement is satisfying. By the time you finish, the kitchen chimney has begun to release a thin column of smoke. At 8, your shift ends. Normally you would close the ledger, hand the desk to the morning clerk, collect your coat, and leave through the side entrance. Today you hesitate. The morning clerk notices. Everything all right? Yes. You look around the lobby, the fire, the staircase, the worn desk, the brass rack of keys, then the porch lamp, barely visible in daylight beyond the window. Everything is exactly right. You collect your coat. Before leaving, you open the small drawer behind the desk. The old luggage tag rests inside. Morrow Hotel, Room 17, E. Vale. You run your thumb across the worn letters. Then you place it beside the photograph. Two small pieces of an ordinary night long ago. You close the drawer. Clara is speaking with Mr. Alden near the dining room. She sees you preparing to leave. Keeper, you turn. Nobody has called you that before. Not seriously. She walks over. Thank you for preparing the room. It was already mostly prepared. That's usually how promises work. You smile. She holds out her hand. You shake it. Will you be staying another night? No, my train leaves this afternoon. So room 17 will be empty again. For a while? She looks toward the key rack. But not unused. You understand. After she leaves, the room will be cleaned, the bed remade, the pitcher filled. the fire laid ready. Another winter will come. Perhaps no one will need it, perhaps someone will. Either way, the key will wait. You step outside. Morning has turned the snow almost silver. The road crew has cleared a narrow path toward town. Behind you, the hotel windows reflect the brightening sky. One upstairs window is slightly darker than the others. Room 17. You start down the steps, then turn back. The porch lamp is still burning. In full daylight, nobody needs it. You could extinguish it, save the oil. But you remember Anne Morrow on a winter night in 1863. Business poor, storm worsening, her husband preparing to darken the hotel. And one simple thought, someone might still be on the road. You leave the lamp burning a little longer, then you begin walking home. The snow along the roadside is smooth and untouched. Your boots make a slow, steady rhythm. Step, quiet, step, quiet. Behind you, Alden House grows smaller between the trees, but its windows remain visible. You think about how little is required to change the shape of someone's night. A room, a fire, bread, dry socks, a lamp where there might otherwise have been darkness. None of it seems large. That may be why it can last. Large gestures belong to moments. Small ones can become traditions. By the time you reach the bend in the road, the hotel is almost hidden. Only the porch remains visible between two pines, and for just a second before the road turns, you can still see the lamp. The next Thursday, Mrs. Bell changes the sheets in room 17. You help her this time. She removes the green and cream quilt and folds it across the chair. You open the window for exactly 3 minutes to freshen the room, although cold air immediate somewhere beneath the fading embers. One small coal continues glowing, holding its warmth without hurry, while the room above rests in darkness, and the old hotel, prepared for whoever may still be traveling, keeps its light through the night.